shall we? Today's training I called the three things that are holding us back. And while this might sound like, what are the three things? It's even simpler than that. It's actually just one thing that holds us back, and it's a universal human experience, something that everyone has, and it's all about our defensiveness. Ladies, what we're talking about today is how our defensiveness holds us back. Now, defensiveness can be sort of like a really bad word. Nobody wants to raise their hand and admit, oh, yeah, I'm defensive. Nobody thinks that defensiveness is a great quality or characteristic to own, and many of us think that we try not to be defensive. But in the broader description, the broader definition of defensiveness, we're talking about simply the reality that all of us have resistance to feeling something that we don't want to feel. That's what defensiveness is. That's what we're talking about this definition here. That all of us feel vulnerable or exposed or fearful of looking or appearing a certain way or having a certain experience in our life. And our defensiveness is the ways in which that we try to buttress ourselves against feeling that discomfort. It is a normal human experience. It comes up all the time, and it's not like a label that you either have or don't have. We're not talking about somebody that we would point to and say, oh, they're so defensive. We're talking about how we all own this quality or characteristic. So that's a baseline understanding of this training. But what I want to challenge us with today is to understand our own unique ways in which defensiveness appears in our life so that we can then be more aware of when we're in a triggered state and be able to manage ourselves through that experience. That's what powerfully will help us unblock the ways we hold ourselves back. Okay, are you ready for the training? Let's dive in. There is this little known social science theory that's called FIRO, F-I-R-O, that I can explain in greater detail later, but I want to give you the take-homes right now. The idea with FIRO theory is that all of us experience three different types of ways that we want to defend ourselves against feeling. The three basic things that we want to feel are these. You ready? The first is we want to be liked. Likability is the first preference that we hold. The second is significance, that we want to feel like we're important and that we matter. And then the third is competence, that we're good enough and that we're on top of things. So when I explain them this way, you might think instantly, well, I like to be all three. And it's true. We each have a desire to be liked, significant, and competent. But the theory here is that there is one of those three that becomes a preference or a bias for us to really want to secure, that we really want to defend against. So let's dive in a little bit deeper to see if you can figure out which one is your preference. And if you feel like I identify it, go ahead and type in the comments below, that's my thing, that's me. So let's talk about likability first. Likability at face value seems very simple, and perhaps it is. It's that we want to be accepted. We want to be liked. It's important to us for our social capital to be very high. We feel like we get results through our relationships with people, through being amenable, through being agreeable, through helping harmony, by building trust through our personal relationships. That would be how we would identify if we feel like likability is our strongest desire or our preference that we want to feel of these three things. It's wanting to be invited. It's knowing that everybody's going out for something after work and that you've been invited and that you're included. Or if there's an important wedding and you got an invitation. These are the things that are all about wanting to be liked. The second, significance. This is wanting to be important, wanting to be powerful, wanting to matter. This can be sort of a very ego-driven type of preference where somebody who has high significance bias wants to feel like they're consulted, that they are looked up to, that they are important. that they are also included, but because they have some um, power, or they want to feel like they have importance. So if that is something that you feel like you identify with, stay tuned. The third is this preference towards competence. This idea that we want to feel like we know our jobs well, that we're capable, that we're good, that our skills are high, that we are seen as somebody who can get things done, that we are on top of details, and that we're sort of infallible. The perfectionism can be also displayed in competence. So this would be the bias for us to, I think, many women who are in this group who maybe identify with having imposter syndrome, who are fearful of being found out as not being good enough or not having what it takes. You would have a strong bias for feeling competent in the world. You would want to feel like you are good enough. Now, each three of these desires, these ways that we hold as preferences to feel safe and secure, has a fear associated with. So if you're not quite sure which one of them is your particular preference, perhaps when I describe the fear that's associated with each of these will really display for you what your desire is. If you hold the likability preference, your fear is being rejected. Your deepest fear is that you would be rejected, that you would be discounted, that you would be not included, that you wouldn't be considered on the inside. This is obvious when perhaps you can have a memory of being rejected in a relationship, or where you feel tension in a friendship, or how distraught or distracted you might be when someone you care about has friction with you. This would display your likability bias. Does that make sense? If you have a bias or preference for significance, the fear here is being ignored. It's being dismissed. It's not being heard. I'll give you a little demonstration of a side note, a story. When I did an exercise with my team at work to understand what our preferences were, where our defensiveness demonstrated itself, there were two members of my team that displayed a strong bias for significance. And when I realized that, when that was shown to me, it made so much sense. And it allowed me to be a better leader to those two who reported to me, because I understood that what was important to them was to be apprised, to know what senior leadership was doing or thinking, or to be in the loop early on if there was some sort of policy or project that was coming down the line that was going to impact them, that for them it would be very important to feel included and consulted and involved early on, because they had a preference to be important and significant and not be ignored. That was the fear. So if that's you, you can say, I think that's mine. I think significance is my preference, my bias. The third is competence. And the fear of somebody who holds a bias or a preference for wanting to appear confident is being humiliated, being exposed for not being good enough, not knowing the answer, not being in the expertise realm, having to say, I don't know, would trigger somebody with a competence bias. And I think many women in this group, if you identify with having imposter syndrome, like me, you might feel like competence is your preference, that you want to appear like you know what you're doing, and that you're fearful of being exposed for not knowing. That's the fear of the competence bias. So when you understand these, there's no shame. Like what I'm explaining is that all of us have a natural desire to want to feel liked, included, and competent, to feel not rejected, not ignored, and not humiliated. These are natural human tendencies. But when you're aware that you are driven by not wanting to feel humiliated or ignored or rejected, when you become aware when those fears are activated in you, then you can be awakened to how you're behaving to avoid that feeling, rather than getting on with positive behaviors that demonstrate your strengths, right? There's two different ways of behaving. One is moving away from what we're afraid of, and the other is moving toward what we want. And they're different energies. So, what I'm talking about, the three ways that hold us back, I'm talking about these three ways that defensiveness show up in our behavior. And if we are honoring them, if we're prioritizing not feeling those feelings, we are holding ourselves back because we are moving away from that feeling. It's like all of our energy is focused on not being incompetent and not being insignificant and not being unliked, rather than expanding into the ways that we actually are liked and are significant and are competent. Does that make sense? There are two different energies. We are holding ourselves back and wasting energy and wasting time when we're just trying to move away from the thing that we're afraid of. That has all our energy focused in the wrong direction. It's focused on what we don't want, not what we do want. So, that's why knowledge is power, ladies. When you're aware of your preference, of your bias, of the way that you want to feel and the way that you show up in the world, you'll be aware of when the absence of that is triggered. When you feel incompetent, or when you feel humiliated, or where you feel vulnerable, or where you feel like you don't know, or where you feel like you're comparing yourself to other people and coming up short, that's your competence bias firing. You can just be aware of that and then realize, there it is. There's that natural human emotion that I'm now feeling. And you can put into practice some of the self-soothing tactics that I've taught you last week when we first started this workshop together. If you've forgotten, they're still in our group and you can go review them now. This is also why I start all of my clients when they come and join Completely Confident Leadership. I start each one of them in a deep dive leadership assessment that shows very clearly to them in a pictogram where their brilliant competencies lie, where their superpower is, where our brilliant strengths are, and then in the negative, where we're draining our energy because we are reacting against something that we don't want to feel. This is an amazing leadership assessment that shows you to you and makes everything so much clearer, and it makes your future behavior and strategy so much easier to see and so much more like a paved path to follow. You don't have to guess how to be a more effective leader. You don't have to try hard to drop your imposter syndrome when you have a map. So, ladies, that's why I have been encouraging you to get on a call with me by following this link, www.joeleader.com/apply, that takes you to my booking calendar so that we can talk about how this leadership assessment and then coaching around it can bring you quantum leaps in your own ability to dissolve your imposter syndrome and to grow into your confident strengths. It's powerful, it's empowering, it's like an epiphany. I sent an email out today, perhaps you got it, that so many of you who I've met through doing a workshop like this have brought to me a desire to improve and a curiosity to become coached or to join a coaching program like mine so that you can uplevel your skills. But the idea is it will take time. Take time that you don't have, that it would take energy, that you'd pile something extra onto your plate, and where would you find the time? And I believe that this is a thought error, that coaching actually doesn't take time. Coaching gives you time. That learning about yourself is like an epiphany. It's as easy as waking up to seeing your strong strengths and then behaving aligned with those as opposed to fearing what you're not good at. You still have the same number of hours in the day. It's taking those hours and instead using your strengths rather than avoiding your weaknesses. But the first step in being able to do that is becoming clear. And what I mean by coaching gives you time is that when you have that clarity, you are able to make quantum leaps in your effectiveness, in your ability to use your time efficiently, use your energy efficiently, and actually feel better, that you give yourself back time because you're not struggling and efforting and grinding things out and working upstream and spending extra time at work and draining your bucket in all of the ways to try to prove to yourself and others that you're good enough. You simply get on with the business of being the great version of you that is already inside. Coaching, ladies, gives you time. Self-awareness gives you quantum leaps in your effectiveness. That's why what I have on offer is gold. Come on, visit me. Come on over to joeleader.com/apply so that we can talk about your leadership assessment, your own unique brand and blend of strengths and characteristics and competencies, so that you understand how to leverage them and so that you can go forth in a more easy, fulfilled way in how you do life. All right, ladies, that's